And I have the absolute pleasure of being with Hedera Solo Ceesay.
I'm very intelligent.
Yeah.
Don't let him watch.
People are scared of him though.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a roller coaster ride, and just super excited to keep it going.
So what is this bit then?
We've launched that. We've built this application. We've shipped a beta project in the App Store as well, so people can start doing things like minting NFTs from a point and shoot.
The creator doesn't actually need to be tech savvy at all. They could be an influencer in fishing, and I'm going to take a picture of my baldy head, and I sell one to my mum and my brother because he wants to make fun of me.
Whatever you're talking about, I don't really understand.
Hi, I'm Walker&Williams, and today I am in the beautiful Amsterdam, and I'm here at the Next Web Tech Conference. I have the absolute pleasure of being with Hedera Solo Ceesay. Solo grew up in Missouri, and for his formative years, he spent most of his time studying and excelling at academia. It was only when he went to a new school that they compulsory made him play sport, and he tried his hand at American football. He found a real passion for the sport and excelled through hard work and natural talent. In fact, he excelled so well that he received 20 Division I scholarship offers to all sorts of universities, including some Ivy Leagues. He accepted an invitation from the prestigious Wharton, and that's where he studied. He then went to an investment bank in Wall Street, where he intended to spend the rest of his career until something changed the course of his entire life. Solo, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So good to meet you. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your precious time just to talk to us and catch up and see what you've been doing. So just to give people a little bit of context about who you are as a person, can you tell us a little bit about your background? I saw you sort of smiling there when I mentioned your full name. That was kind of funny. And were you a close family? Are you still close to your siblings? Your brother and sisters? What was it like growing up? Who is Solo?
Yeah, so my parents came from West Africa. They immigrated to the United States 30, 40 years ago.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't really sound like it.
Right, okay.
But growing up, our family was always pretty close. They always preach the value in hard work and always continuing to do your best. And they always preach that. So sports weren't really anything that we came up on, really early on our years.
Yeah.
The funny thing is I had a grandfather who played professional basketball, but my mom
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in overseas in Europe, and my mom and dad were just always, preaching the idea of school.
Sports are luxury.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it wasn't until much later in my life that I really picked it up, but I think it was probably very formative in like me being who I am now, and the consistent, hard work ethic that you develop from being an athlete. I'm sure you remember from your time as well within rugby, and my family as well. They just preached hard value and hard work ethic. So we were a close-knit bunch, dispersed all over the United States. But I'm very thankful to have had the background that I had.
I think it's really important, isn't it, having a close-knit family. It's a real help for, especially as you're growing up as a child, and especially as, a sort of first-generation immigrant in the country, it gives you that support network, doesn't it? And it gives you that confidence in yourself, of your legacy and who you are, and I suppose that really helps. So tell us a little bit then, so moving forward, so what happened then? Just give us a brief overview of, so as I said, clearly you're an incredible talent in sport, you get your degree in university, you go to Wall Street and you land a really, really, good job in a high-paying job in a Wall Street bank, and then, and so explain what happened.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where I had finally gotten to where I always wanted to be. And the grass is always greener, and that's a thing that honestly becomes more and more true and relevant in life as I age. And so when I worked there, it was great. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my abilities. Despite going to Wharton and all these things, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome just because of the fact that as great of an upbringing as I had, I wasn't really exposed to capital markets or investment banking until much later in life. So my parents to this day don't really know what exactly I did during the 5 years.
Still today?
To this day, correct.
Wow.
I mean, I've explained it a number of times,
sure,
and they have a better idea, but like, it was something that they had to learn alongside with me.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, it was a tough adjustment to start. But I fell into it very quickly, and I was able to do really well for myself, and did really well in the class of analysts and associates that I worked with. So it was something that was a great experience, and I think I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit as well. Like, coming from a West African background, you just learn a little bit about things, and I know we talked about it a little bit, but your context for the world, the way you see things, is just slightly different than your peers, and so at times it was almost something that I felt alienated for. But at the same time, it was also one of my greatest advantages to have the ability to kind of think outside the box.
That's interesting, because that was going to be one of my next questions. Was that you mentioned the word culture a lot, and the sort of American mindset. The speaking in generalities, the general American mindset of sort of like one worldism and quite colonial, and then you say that you have. I've heard you mention that you feel that you have a sort of an advantage, an edge in an American culture because you understand other cultures. And can you explain about what you meant by that a little bit? So, what specifically gives you this mindset advantage?
Yeah, I mean, I think just growing up from an early age, you just are you're exposed to so many different cultures early on, like so many different types of thinking.
But why is that a benefit? Why is that?
I think it teaches you to be a chameleon. Like, I think what I learned at a very young age is how to interact with different types of people at a very high level, like much earlier on in my life than my peers, right? So at the age of 22, 23, like the first time that I met, the first time I met all of my colleagues at work, when you go to a global bank like, Citigroup where I work, I knew a lot about who they were and like their values and stuff about them that my peers didn't. So I think that comes with a bit of an edge.
Right, you're absolutely right, because I guess most things in life, if not everything in life, is people and people. Businesses, people and people, and so it allows you to sort of amalgamate and connect with people quicker than it would be for somebody who has no idea French culture or whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
Right, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now we fast forward and you leave the bank. Explain the journey from sort of, your last day in the office to where you are now. What's happened?
So I mean, leading up into my departure from the bank, we had been working on Calaxy for a long period of time. So the co-founder of Calaxy, is my good friend and my basically older brother, Spencer Dinwiddie, who plays on the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes.
Him and my older brother are like best friends.
Okay.
And so the origin story really goes, Spencer is a very forward-thinking person, and so he wanted to find a way to monetize his contract.
He's super intelligent as well, isn't he?
Very intelligent.
Yeah.
Very intelligent.
Yeah.
Don't let him watch this, but he's a very intelligent guy.
Yes.
And so he's very forward-thinking, innovative, and so what he was talking about doing with his contract and getting his fans involved, my brother multiple times said, whatever you're talking about, I don't really understand. It makes equally no sense to what my brother tried to explain to me what he does on a day-to-day basis. As a securitization investment banker, y'all should talk about it. And that's kind of how we started. And so we kind of worked on that in the scene, behind the scenes, and we got that off. Ran into a little hiccup with the NBA wanting to sue him for doing that.
Really?
For doing that.
Right.
Which is crazy because NBA Top Shot and all the embracing of crypto and all these things. Came back after the
whole collaborative culture and all this sort of stuff.
Exactly.
And you guys sort of sat at your stall, and all of a sudden you're being sued.
Exactly.
And what happened there?
I mean, he was able to. It had to do a lot with like player incentives, the quality of the game. Like they want to make sure that like if you get your money earlier rather than later, are you able to protect the quality of the game because players have incentives to continue to do as they do. And also, a lot of times people, and this is just a people thing generally, they shy away from things they don't know. Or understand. And so at the time,
people are scared of them though.
Yeah, exactly. So, he had talked about, I want to get paid in Bitcoin, I want to put my contract on the blockchain, all these things. He looks crazy to the league.
They're like,
so he took a lot of bullets for this project. And so it really changed a lot of things, and now you have things like NBA Top Shot that came out of it.
But he was like at the forefront of all of that kind of at the very, very start. Wow, so without going too far with it, he was kind of like a frontier in that industry with trying to bring this. Wow,
Absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's kind of what we started working on. But then leaving the bank, it really turned into us finding the idea of monetizing, one's influence or one's community. And so that's what we really focused on. And so through the use of social tokens, which haven't yet been really popularized in Web3. NFTs have obviously been rampant all over the place. I think social tokens are the next big community building tool. And so we wanted to take that and marry it with the utility that you get from a lot of the social media experiences you get in Web 2. And so since leaving, it's been a roller coaster, a whirlwind. We've done a lot of different things. We raised 2 rounds of financing.
So there's 2 rounds?
Yeah.
So I know about the latest one, everybody knows about that. It's quite a buzz in the industry, because I think it makes everyone who's building in the industry kind of like look at this as that kind of where they might want to be. And it also gives the industry legitimacy, because by you encouraging investment from the outside world, it isn't just an echo. It's proof that it's not just an echo chamber. It's not just people who getting it. It's actually people saying we're going to put money externally into this. So it's really, really interesting. So everybody's been watching very closely at the $26 million raise that you've had. But what was the first one?
The first one we did a $7.5 million SAFTI financing.
Right. Okay.
And so we did that in 2021. In 2022, we did this subsequent strategic financing that we did. And so we've done that. We released a white paper, the Creators Galaxy Protocol, which is a decentralized permissionless ecosystem for creators to monetize themselves via social tokens and NFTs. Calaxy is an application built on top of that protocol. And so there's a protocol token called the CLXY token, Calaxy token, not meant to be misconstrued or confused with Calaxy the application. But we've launched that. We've built this application. We've launched or shipped a beta project in the App Store as well, so people can start doing things like minting NFTs from a point and shoot, actions on your phone. That sort of capability has been, created. So it's been a roller coaster ride, and just super excited to keep it going.
So, explain to me. So, my mum's watching this. She's 60 odd, don't tell anyone, and she understands, because of me, she understands cryptocurrency. She kind of just got the handle on that. In the most sort of simple terms, explain exactly what it is you are going to be offering, what you do, what the intention is, but to my mum. So explain that in a really simple, basic way, if you can.
Absolutely. So Calaxy, which is what I'm the CEO and co-founder of, is an American-U.S. corporation that develops applications on the Creators Galaxy. The first one being Calaxy
on the Creators
Galaxy.
So start with Galaxy. So we've got Galaxy, and Galaxy is a platform. Is that correct?
Well, the Creators Galaxy is a layer 2 built on top of Hedera Hashgraph.
Okay, so we've got Hedera Hashgraph as the cryptographic technology that you build on. That's the platform. Then you've got Calaxy. Is that right?
The Creators Galaxy.
You've got the Creators Galaxy.
Yes.
Now, what is the Creators Galaxy?
So that's kind of
real simple terms.
It's a protocol solution. So it's similar to Rally. It's similar to Roll, some other social token projects. It purely is the nuts and bolts of basically white labeled Hedera technology.
Fine, got it. Okay, so it allows people to build stuff effectively. Okay, and then sitting on top of that, we have the stuff that is built.
Yes.
So we've got Microsoft Word, and then we've got the books effectively. Okay, so what is this bit then?
Exactly.
So what are the books?
So Calaxy is a mobile application and a web application that allows content creators to create their own fungible assets called creator tokens or social tokens, as well as NFTs. And so this is your own personalized cryptocurrency, just like any other cryptocurrency. But the difference is there's real world utility with these cryptocurrencies because Calaxy has built an application to not only help you mint them, but it also creates an experience and a marketplace for you to use them on experiences with your favorite creators.
Wow. Okay. So the creator doesn't actually need to be tech savvy at all. They could be an influencer in fishing, for example, or an American football player or whatever. And they can come to you, and presumably without any technical sort of savvy or know-how, they can create collectibles or mint pictures of themselves, which then their fans can buy.
Exactly.
And it's all done in-house. So the back end for the creator, so I decide, I'm going to do an NFT project, and I'm going to take a picture of my baldy head, and people are going to buy it for some weird reason. I sell one to my mum and my brother because he wants to make fun of me. But I can create those on your site, but they can also buy them on your site. So it's an end-to-end solution.
Absolutely. So it's really meant to be kind of a one-size-fits-all easy use case to on-ramp creators into Web3.
Amazing.
Right? So when you think about protocol solutions, the alternative is you hire a team of engineers, you build a website, you integrate your social token, and maybe you sell merch against that, right? Basically, we took the utility of the world of said Web2 and social media, attached it, and created a marketplace that uses Web3 technology like social tokens that allow it to be a digital currency that allows a creator to transact within their own economy.
Right. Okay. Got it. And so, have you? I know you've got some names. Can you tell us any of the people that have?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started, obviously, Spencer is in the NBA. I played Division I football, so we have a lot of friends in the world of sports.
Yeah.
So we had people like Ezekiel Elliott, who's a Dallas Cowboys running back.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl running back. One of my good friends. We actually grew up together.
Wow. Cool.
Lost 3 state championships in a row together.
Right.
So I don't always win.
Yeah. But you've been in the trenches together, and you've been through a lot. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
And then we have people like Dwight Howard, Tiana Taylor, and Iman Shumpert, Matt James, who was a previous Bachelor, a lot of different types of reality TV stars. A lot of people that have an interest in learning about crypto and wanting to use it, but it's been largely remained inaccessible to them because of the amount of diligence and work that it requires to be a part of this space.
And actually, when you think about it, it's pretty obvious that anyone watching this might have a real interest in the technology. But if you think of any other industry, like I love watches, you love watches, we both like cars, but I don't really want to know how the combustion engine works. I don't really want to know the Tesla battery. I don't want to have to design the thing myself. I just want to go on a website, choose the color, choose the model, know the price, do it and buy it, and then it comes to my house. So, and that is what you guys are going to facilitate for people who, maybe they want to be in crypto in the same way that I want to be in saving the environment, but they don't want to know like how the gubbins of a Tesla works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you think about the best technologies, they've always been, there's like, Web3 doesn't have many application layers.
Okay.
Right? And so like, I think when it comes to on-ramping people into that, you have to have a very vested interest in wanting to learn about some deep tech to use it, right? And so when you think about
early adopters.
It's like the perfect amount of, I hate to use the word because it's like centralization, but like guardrails that people are used to within the legacy world to get them comfortable doing things that they traditionally don't do. Right? So like if I told them, hey, you have to go to this random website, mint an NFT, you need to
write a couple of lines of code.
Like they're gonna be like, whoa, I have no interest in doing that. If driving a car, like you mentioned, required you to be an engineer.
To format the battery.
A lot, yes, exactly. A lot of us would be walking places.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so that explains. It's really interesting because it's so exciting. So you mentioned there that you're building on Hedera Hashgraph. So why Hedera Hashgraph? Because when I look at, everyone knows that and you know that I'm a big fan of Hedera Hashgraph, but when I look at your website, I see Solana. It's Solana all day long. So why Hedera Hashgraph?
A number of reasons. I think we believe in the technology through and through. We believe in the founding team at Hedera. We believe in Mance. We believe in Lehman. We believe in the foundation and their overall decentralization strategy. Okay. I think from a regulatory standpoint, we're very comfortable with them, just because of the way in which there's a certain amount of transparency within the way in which their network works that I think long term will be embraced by governments and regulatory bodies around the world in a way that despite people disliking or some targeted groups disliking that aspect of it or the centralization aspect of it, I think it's that perfect trade-off between being completely decentralized and anonymous to being some more centralized because it's a spectrum. Right, Hedera sits here, Solana is like here, Ethereum's here, whatever it is. I think they kind of have that perfect balance that makes sense for us. It's AVFT, and it also, the governing council is a very strong draw to us as well.
So effectively, it's the technology then, because what I mean, if anyone's sort of jumping out of their chair when I say you should be building on Solana, what I mean by that, and I think you knew what I meant when I asked the question, which is, I'm just talking, forget tech for a second, I'm talking, there's a pre-existing market that is substantially larger on Solana than there is on Hedera. I mean, Ethereum has got, 1.7 million transactions a day or something, and Hedera Hashgraph's at like 100,000. So the easy route, ignoring the technology, ignoring the environmental impacts for a moment, is Solana or Ethereum. It's obvious, okay? We've got OpenSea, you jump on or whatever, or you can pull people off OpenSea, and a lot of other things are plug and play with tokens and stuff. And getting your coin listed or token listed on different platforms is so much easier when it's ERC20. But the technology, I truly believe, and I believe you do too, and you've certainly put your money where your mouth is with Hedera. What do you think that journey is going to be like? I mean, I'm so grateful for you guys for believing in the technology, but not just believing in it, willing to build something, willing to take a long-term view that says, in the long term this wins, and we believe that this technology will win out, but in the short term, the quick buck right now is building on Solana or Ethereum, just because they're ahead in that system.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think when you think about it, Hedera was designed to be a 100-year company, endeavor,
Yes.
right, for the longest time. And I think we believe in, that mission and that value. You're absolutely right. There are easier ways to go about doing this type of stuff, especially the type of project that we are.
You guys are like a perfect.
Yeah, it's a fit, and people come to us saying that all the time. But I can't thank the community enough, the support that we have enough, and in the future, I believe that the sustainability, like the practices of the Hedera and the foundation, are far more sustainable than some of the mechanisms in which that people drive traffic to other layer ones, right? Like, I think the one thing that's really great about them, and this is me taking my seat back as kind of like a holder of HBAR, is that I think they have a much more realistic, sustainable growth strategy over time. Because they're a little bit more conservative in certain points.
Yes.
Where it needs to be. Because like obviously we're in a correction right now. And people move very quickly.
They
right?
do. Yeah. They do.
And so I think that's kind of one thing that was super important to us, and they believed in us early. And Spencer and I, we're also athletes, so like our mentality to take on the challenge and the reward is much greater as well here. And so I think that's kind of what drove us to stick with Hedera.
Brilliant. And what do you think, you can be honest, up until this point, looking back, do you think Hedera could have done anything to make things for you and I, because I'm obviously a builder on the network too. I'm not just a holder of HBARs, but I've invested in projects that are building on Hedera and trying to do big things in our own small way. And so do you think Hedera could have done anything better or sooner up until this point?
I think the bifurcation of the foundation in Hedera could have been done sooner. I think that would have made things a lot more clear, because now I think we're just getting to the point where we're a little bit more mature with our ecosystem. Perhaps DeFi solutions and stuff like that could have been really helpful to our ecosystem.
Yes.
Because I think that's kind of what a lot of the holders, and this is not me as a builder really, that is kind of that, but obviously the sentiment trickles down to other parts of it. So I'd say that. But I think they've done a great job decentralizing themselves, having the foundation. A lot of the PR that they're doing is better in the sense of attracting talent to build there. I think from the consumer-facing aspect, making HBAR a cool item to want to own, in the same way that Sol is cool to own, is probably something that we'd love to shoot towards. And I'm diligently working tirelessly to try and help that be the case. With my platform, building my platform, making sure that all our assets that we mint are HTS while being interoperable, because we do believe that it's important. But creator tokens will be minted on HTS, NFTs will be on HTS, etc.
Do you know what? I completely agree, because you can get. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it's too late, and it's almost like day one for Hedera, when the foundation. For me, that was kind of like this.
That's Genesis Day.
Exactly. That is Genesis Day one. So that's the first block, because anything prior to that was them cautiously sort of setting out their stall, testing the tech, and because they are who they are, I like to think of it a bit like a boat race, and everyone's jumped in their boats and gone off, and the only one left on the shore is Hedera. But Manson Lehman are double checking everything and just making sure that their boats are a little bit better. But when you're 1 mile out at sea, some of those boats are going to start sinking and falling away, and the one that wins the race is the one that took a little bit longer. Abraham Lincoln said that if he had 8 hours to chop down a tree, he'd spend the first 7 hours sharpening the blade. Of his axe. So, and I kind of think that's what I hope, and I don't hope, I know Hedera have been doing, but I just hope now, moving forward, now that we're past, day one, that they start to sort of really support the community and advertising. And from what I've seen so far, I'm really happy with it, because they're sponsoring, the right events, they're saying the right things. I think the future is genuinely really, really bright, and I also believe that time is on our side as Hederians.
Time is on our side, and also the market conditions as well.
Exactly. The worse they get, the better for Hedera.
On the attack,
because utility wins. I really truly believe that for most of human existence, utility has always shone through. It's always won in the end, and we certainly have that on Hedera. You mentioned there was. I've got a. Sorry, I'm just going to because I've got a couple of questions off from people on Twitter. Randy on Twitter pointed to an article by TechCrunch.com that quoted you as saying, and I quote, "The fresh capital will be stored for bearish days ahead, but Solo said the funds will eventually be used to expand its platform and products." What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, TechCrunch is a great source.
Yeah.
Love to have been covered by them. I appreciate the journalists and them for covering the story.
Yeah.
Perhaps there was a bit of a miscommunication between me and her in terms of, what I had communicated.
Right. So it's a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
Okay.
If anybody really follows our project, they know we're aggressive, right? Like, building mobile applications is tough to do.
Yeah, and expensive.
Right? And expensive.
Yeah.
And a web application itself,
yes.
and like a token and all these.
Yeah.
You can't do that not spending money.
Yeah.
So like I think.
So you're not. So it's just not true. You're not hoarding.
Yeah, like I mean, in our perspective, like absolutely, like I think it's smart to be aware of where we are in the economic cycle, right?
Yeah.
Companies are laying off 20% of their workforce, so like, we're not going to go on a hiring spree just because we have fresh capital to go spend it. But like we've always been aggressive. Like I said, my co-founder's in the NBA and he goes downhill every single time. Doesn't care who's in there.
Yes.
He's going to dunk on them.
Yeah.
That's kind of our mentality.
Yeah, that's your mentality. Like you leave it all out on the pitch. Yeah. So to be honest, when I read it, I thought it doesn't really read true. One, because it doesn't make any sense, because why would you be holding them back when, saving for a rainy day, when you guys are not shoestringing this anyway? Spencer's an incredibly wealthy individual, incredibly wealthy. You only need to Google, and it's public knowledge what his sort of payment terms are for his sport. So clearly, this isn't a person who needs to be hoarding the pennies to save for a rainy day. I think it's nice that if you have that sort of forward-thinking mentality, and that you aren't in just sort of a bubble, that means that you go too big too quick or too fast too quick, and that means that the minute there is a bit of a pullback, that you haven't got the safety net. So I think if you are sort of looking and just checking and putting your head up occasionally and looking at the markets to see what they're doing, I think that's important. But yeah, it didn't make any sense to me that the statement didn't fit the people it was being applied to.
Yeah.
So, and you've confirmed that.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
fine.
And
it's
like,
just a misunderstanding.
And like, I do want to say completely, like, we appreciate being covered by TechCrunch.
I know, I get that. Yeah.
But I think it might have just been a miscommunication in terms of the.
Fine. That's fine. It sets the record straight. It's just not true.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, cool. So, is there anything else you want to talk about as we for a start, the conference here today? How have you found it? Because you arrived yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, I arrived yesterday. It was great. I was able to meet a lot of different types of people. Yeah. This one isn't super Web3 like Consensus was.
No.
I came straight from Consensus.
Oh, really?
Where we had a great showing. Like we had a number of panels and different types of things like that.
I heard it. From what I've heard, Hedera absolutely smashed it. They were getting approached by like the White House. People from all over, massive companies. Yeah, was that?
And it was great. And it was great to do our part in trying to help represent. Hedera on stage as well as Calaxy.
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
cool.
that. So that was great. This conference is a bit different, which is honestly good.
Yes.
Because you have differing
diversity.
Yeah, and like it's sometimes easy to get stuck in your Web3 bubble. It's easy to get stuck on CoinMarketCap and sit there and self-pity because your network dropped 60% in the last day. Yeah. So I think that's kind of a little bit of what I've been able to see here is connect with people outside of the world, and Calaxy is very much so a Web 2.5 company.
Yes.
Right? Like we kind of need to straddle that line of Web 2 and 3 if we want to get to consumer mass adoption.
Yes. Okay. What do you think of the crypto industry as it currently sits? Because you've mentioned a couple of times in a few interviews and articles that have been written that you've had some struggles, or you believe that it's been a bit tougher because being a black entrepreneur who is looking to change the world, which is fantastic. Do you think is crypto, because it's supposed to be? The reason I ask the question is because everyone talks about decentralization, about peer-to-peer, but sometimes you read something and somebody like yourself, like a great man like yourself, says that you've had challenges that you might not have had if you look differently. And then you think, well, we've got Barclays, we've got HSBC, we've got Wells Fargo, now we've got Binance, we've got Coinbase. There's still guys sitting in the middle. Like if you want to sell your HBAR and I want to buy some HBAR, you're doing it through a third person. Like you're doing it through Binance, and sometimes the service isn't great. It takes a couple of days, and sometimes they charge a fee. And then I read an article where you say you might have sort of, had a bit more challenges that you might not have necessarily had. And it starts to make me think, is the old world creeping in? or what's happening?
I think you're spot on, because there's a level of centralization in the industry.
Yes.
That makes people comfortable, just because centralization needs to exist in certain parts of our life, even within Web3. Web3 is not just going to be this decentralized, wild west, right?
No, nor should it be.
And nor should it be, right?
Yeah.
Centralized exchanges play a very important role in the ecosystem.
Because at least in the Wild West, there's sheriffs.
Yeah.
We haven't even got that.
Exactly.
Like, this is the Wild West, and there's literally nobody policing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think from that perspective, that was something that was super important, like to think about and look at, is like centralized exchanges playing a very important role, but any power that's given in the hands of some governing body or anything like that, there's a little bit of an arbitrary nature about how it's done, right? So for example, right, when you want to get listed on an exchange, there is a diligence process, and they know who they're talking to.
Yes.
And they determine whether or not you're an asset that should be listed or not.
Which means they become a gatekeeper.
And
it's centralized, because presumably it's a few handful of people.
Exactly.
And if those guys are all white guys, then...
and there's some things that are inevitable, but when I really talk about my journey, a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's so many obstacles that you have to overcome before you get to the table to even pitch. Yeah. Right? Like, that's the hard, like, raising the money is incredibly hard. Yes. Right? Yeah. Like, objectively hard. 1% type stuff. It's still the easiest thing, in my opinion, that I did in this entire journey. Yes, absolutely. Because you think about all the different things that you have to do to show up, right? And I think that was something that was, a little bit tougher, all that time, because like you still raise capital from traditional venture, capital markets and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And there's, and the stats are what they are, right? And it's funny because when I say stuff like that on Twitter, a lot of people are really quick to, especially Web3, because it's about,
diversity
and like and stuff like that. So they oftentimes look to kind of, not discredit it, but like really Web3 is like about inclusion. Which that is. You're
poo-pooing what we all pretend it is.
Yeah, but the reality is, it's like, one, I know what my life experiences have been.
Of course you do.
I went to Wharton, I worked on Wall Street, I worked in these places, and I also worked here, and I know what it's been like. So I think from my perspective, I was really just talking about kind of all the different stuff that you have to do, like, being 27, not looking a certain type of way, not seeing people that look like me, present like me, do what I say I'm going to do, yet ask you for absurd amounts of money, is psychologically something that is a barrier that I have to do differently than, somebody who's not of African American heritage.
Right, okay. And are there any, flipping that on its head, are there any advantages?
I think a lot of it, I mean, I think
because the reason I asked that is because I would actually say that it's almost kind of sort of the same for me sometimes. When if I was trying to approach you and bring you onto my platform, you might think that I'm old world, or do you see what I mean?
No, that's true. It's true. I mean, I think for the business that we have,
guys,
for the business we have, dealing a lot with entertainers, influencers, and stuff, where there's a lot more diversity within it, that industry.
And it helps that you're a lot cooler than me too. Because you can walk into a lot of music things and they're going to listen to what you've got to say. They're going to laugh me out the room.
It depends on the room, but MWW is a cool person. I was watching his stuff before.
Thank you very much.
But
thank you. But you get my point. Like,
you're right. And there are advantages to that, and that's also like kind of like part of our value proposition that we were selling to people. It's like the idea of like, we are built for creators by creators. I wouldn't call myself an influencer by any means. I have a decent presence on the screen, but nothing crazy. But my, like the ecosystem that we come from, the entertainment industry that we live in, that we're really involved with, we know intimately. So it's like, it kind of helped us build something that we knew that we're trying to build for that type of people. So it definitely was an advantage in that in that sense.
I have to say you're quite an unusual animal in the sense that you have this incredible intellect, clearly, and you've been in corporate America, like the deep heart of a corporate America. You don't get much more capitalist than sort of Wall Street, but then you've also got sort of like the street knowledge as well, and that's quite it's almost like Good Will Hunting kind of thing. You've got the street smarts and you've got the thing, and that's a powerful mix though. But it is though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's one of your unique selling propositions is that you can go and relate to these guys, but you've got the business head too. Yeah. And that's what is going to be playing out, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been super exciting, but I think the main thing I would also want to underscore is my team is amazing. Yeah. I have the best team in Web3 social by all accounts. Like, like it starts from the top down. Like we have, the best designer in the industry, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
all our stuff looks great. All
Your
our branding
website
looks
is amazing.
great.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he's doing his job. His name's Chad Weston.
Right.
Shout out to him. You know, Cooper Coons, who came from Hedera directly as our CTO and kind of helped champion building this entire thing.
Yes.
Has been super helpful. And then Rusty Matveev, you know, who came from Madison Square Garden, who came a lot of VC experience that made doing these raises a lot easier in terms of like understanding. Like, I've raised capital for later stage companies or investment vehicles, which is very different than VC.
It's so helpful to have somebody who's walked the path before. Than trying to cut your own path through the jungle.
Exactly. So I think from that perspective, like, you know, I play a very small piece of the puzzle in this. You know, and I have a great co-founder as well, and you know, my brother for, you know, orchestrating and being the quarterback really who doesn't get talked about a lot. That kind of made all this stuff possible.
The engine, sort of like pushing it all along.
Exactly.
That's
so
cool.
His name's Baba. And so
I know him.
So we have a great team over at Calaxy.
Where are you off to next? Are you back to LA or what's happening?
To New York.
You go to New York?
NFT NYC.
Oh yeah, cool.
So we're super
I can't go, but I really wish I could. But I'm definitely going to be there next year. Are you speaking there or are you just attending?
No, I'm just attending this time.
Okay, cool.
I'm a little talked out.
Yeah, I bet.
Have the talk later today at the next web.
Yeah.
Talking about financial markets regulation and all of those fun things.
Amazing.
But yeah.
What an amazing thing for the people of the Hedera ecosystem that they've got someone such as yourself going around the world literally spreading the good word. It's amazing, and thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for your time today.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
Okay guys, I can't believe this. So that was so cool. So right now I'm going to go off and start looking at all the different stalls, maybe have a bottle of water because it is 35 degrees, believe it or not, and we're in a conservatory, so it's amazing that we're not sweating more. I'm so grateful to, well, I like to call my friend Solo. Thank you ever so much for watching as always. I'll see you soon.